You may have spotted in the papers, on the radio, or even here on GBNews that this year's £250,000 Wolfson Economics Prize will go to the brightest idea to make the government's planned 48 new or improved hospitals by 2030 even better. The shortlisted ideas include clever pods for A&E patients, safer and kinder for the sufferer, and hospitals with self-reporting systems for patient satisfaction and staff happiness. Another idea is greener hospitals and more logical designs. Splendid. All of them, I'm sure. Lord Wolfson of Next thinks so, and so does Sajid Javid, the Health Secretary. But if there was a Stewart Prize, I'd be looking for more profound ideas. The key questions would be, does the NHS still work? And if not, how can that be changed? Does it offer value for money? And if it doesn't, how can it? Is the public-private balance right? And if not, well, you get my point. You criticise the NHS at your peril. But if you don't, it becomes like the Emperor, whose new clothes were a myth. The NHS, part of the post-war settlement, offered a cradle-to-grave healthcare service. It was also part of a new welfare state and would sit alongside a safety net of benefits for the poor and those in short-term economic distress, and would provide a state pension when folk ended their working lives. Well, over the years since 1948, it's been subject to chops and changes in management structure. Devolution saw the demise of a UK NHS and the creation of separate health bodies for Scotland and Wales. Local versus top-down management structures are a regular feature of debate. And funding, well, a constant in the diet of party political positioning. Yeah, there are more diseases, more treatments, cleverer and costlier treatments and drugs. The NHS and government response to it all is fudge, in my view. Roll with it, and woe betide any government seeking re-election who dared say of the NHS, we need to pause and think and reflect. The funding crisis and the impending health and social care reform package from the government would both be assisted if someone had the guts to ask what the NHS is for and what it's not for, and what might be done better if charges were applied where folk could afford them. Hospital waiting lists and the undercover reinvention of GP services are perhaps the most striking examples of why we need to talk about the NHS. Now, I don't think the Tories want to privatise the NHS, but aspects of GP services, from PCR COVID tests to sight and hearing problems, well, they already have, and by stealth. If there's an argument for more cash for the NHS, then there's an argument for better performance. The latest King's Fund data demonstrates that we are increasingly dissatisfied and the NHS is increasingly less effective. All 4 of our children were born in the NHS, and to our total satisfaction. But when I broke my hip, I went private, not for a better operation, but for privacy and comfort. I had insurance which I could afford to buy. My money, my choice. But when I have my PCR COVID tests, which my employer insists on, and which the NHS seem to think is a very good idea, I have to go private because my NHS GP doesn't do them. And we have to pay. Seems odd. Failing hearing, the GP will refer you to a private practice. Worries about eyesight, probably the same. Now, that may all be perfectly sensible, but how we got there isn't. We pay for it all as taxpayers. We deserve a say in something so fundamental. I think we all need to be honest. Are there things that the NHS offered for free in the past that should now be charged for as a matter of course? Are there things that the NHS shouldn't offer? Some who are ill cannot afford to pay for anything. I accept that. But many of us can and would. We just need an honest, open debate about what the NHS is for and how it's funded. Is the NHS a suitable and urgent case for treatment? That's tonight's Viewpoint.